I hope you are well and doing great. You still have the bears in the background, but for sure, retail is relentless. Remember back in April, off the lows, retail was the first one to buy equity markets. President Trump was like, buy, and retail actually went ahead and they bought. And then you see, followed by them, the CTAs. And then until the full recovery, hedge funds were on the wrong side. They had to obviously cover and then go the other way. And you saw a lot of people, even as the equity markets made the full recovery from the April disaster, they were like, "Nah, well, we still don't know that retail is right." Retail has been the smart money, a new dynamic in the markets, no question about it. This is different. Never before have we seen Bitcoin and gold rising together. Never, for short periods of times. And the only other time that I could really find and or remember where they're both really rising together is back in 2000, late 2019 into early 2020. And the dollar, but look at the difference. I mean, they're both rising here. Maybe that's the March end. Let me come out of there. It's a really short period of time, actually. It is a really short period of time. It is much different. This time is different. And people might ask, what's going on? Is this the debasement trade? Since 2021, we've been talking about the debasement. And we've been talking about Bitcoin is not a hedge against inflation. Bitcoin is a hedge against the debasement of the currency. Guess what? If you run the numbers, if you do the math, there's no other way or direction for it to go but a continual loss of the purchasing power of the dollar, of the euro, of the yen, of the yuan, of all fiat. And it is indeed truly like, remember, we were early when it came to Bitcoin. Remember, we were early when it came to and now Wall Street's here. Someone's like, Jordan, you have to be able to finish your thoughts. I really enjoy what you say, but you have to be able to finish your thoughts. Listen, we do our best. Show up every day, put the work in. That's what we're here to do right now. This might not even be a fun session. It might be a hard session. It might be a tough session. But it's okay. It's important to make sure that you're serious about what is taking place. It's no longer the 4-year cycle. Now people are calling it the 5.5 year cycle. Everyone will keep reverting. CTM. This is different. Why is it different? Everyone's catching on now that actually what we're seeing is a rapid increase in the pace of the devaluation. The Fed is done running off their balance sheet. By the way, they got a lot farther than I ever would have imagined. Ever would have imagined. They were able to taper the Ponzi, but only for so long. And they're about to be done tapering. What's interesting about this time, a lot of people are wondering, it's a great question. Thomas actually set this off with a really good question. And he's wondering, by the way, as far as accumulation, we do see this is wallets, Bitcoin wallets, holding between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoin, and they continue to accumulate. You could see the peak in 2021. They were distributing. This is an interesting segment of the market. Obviously, this is dolphins, what you would call whales. What they do is they distribute the whole way up. They start distributing way early, way early. We have a new form of whale in the market, though. The new whale, the corporate treasuries, they're not distributing at all. The dynamics have changed tremendously and are changing before our eyes tremendously. And it's really bullish, but a lot of people, for two reasons, are it's our human tendency to be focused in on what's happening right now. Of course, it's our human tendency to focus in on the recent past. Of course, we're made, our minds, they like to recognize patterns. There's comfort in that. It is human tendency. Jordan, finish your thought. I don't know. Let me run it back over here. Let's take a look at what's going on and start off slowly. Yeah. Listen, Trump pardon CZ. How do I feel about that? What is that? I saw someone like they should get CZ on Up Only or talk to Tucker Carlson. Who cares? CZ is in it, for whatever. I don't know. I don't have any comment on that. I mean, first we had I don't know how people felt about the pardoning of Ross, but it felt unjust. But I don't know. I remember 2019 Bitcoin conference and Ross speaking and Edward Snowden. Man, that was special. That was special. Did you ever see the movie Snowden? I deleted Facebook after watching that. I guess that was silly because it doesn't even matter. It's not just Facebook. It's everything and everywhere. Stablecoins are coming. CBDCs in disguise, only it's not a CBDC, but it still gives the power for them to freeze very quickly your funds, which they were able to do, by the way, up in Canada during the trucker protest. They weren't using CBDCs, but they were still able to freeze bank accounts. I could argue that the CBDCs have essentially been in place now for more than a few years. Nevertheless, where are we going? The bid is relentless today. Still got the Bears in the background because I'm very cautious into the 29th. I think obviously this is going to be a benign event. I think that there's no question that we're going to continue to see the expectations and the estimates for spending continuing to rise. However, if they don't, that's a major red flag. And then, of course, we have the summit, and we have the summit coming up on the 31st, and then that Saturday, November 1st, between President Xi and Donald Trump. And I imagine that that's going to go well as well. And then if it does, I think that we're going to be putting the bulls up. Right now, the Bears are lurking in the background, right? And it's true. And, well, today's a nice day. Yeah, what a recovery. We've seen NASDAQ up 3/4 of a point, Bitcoin up 2%. And a very nice recovery after yesterday's sell-off, which was caused, these two red bars, this red bar was caused by Trump saying, well, I might not meet with Z. Oh, yeah, of course I'm meeting with Z. And then this one was caused by a similar situation, right? Both Trump tweets regarding the upcoming summit. And if indeed something goes wrong, well, then we'd likely have our first technical break. Don't. I think that we're gonna have the bulls up, and then we're gonna get a little bit, let's say, a lot more optimistic about the price action with Bitcoin coming into the end of the year. And it's been kind of a tough year, right? A lot of people are like, so here's January, right? Hold on one second and find out where we are. Here's January. And $100,000 Bitcoin, and here 1,000 Bitcoin. It's been a tough year. Also for our trading, I want to get into that in 1 minute with y'all. It's been a tough year, but guess what? Preserving capital is everything. Yeah, we all want to have those outsized gains all the time, but that's not really what this is about. This is about making sure that you have a plan that gives you an edge, that regardless of what comes next over time, you're going to be able to meet and exceed your goals. And at the same time, we continue forward. This was a major move on Bitcoin. And that was obviously since then we've basically been consolidating gains. We had the whole April scare, right? Rightfully so. And since then, yeah, it could go either way. When I say tick tock, tick tick boom, this boom is coming. We have now been consolidating sufficiently. We don't look at this, even since the April, you're talking now since May, consolidating over here, and it could go either way. That boom is coming. I think that the trigger is going to be very soon. I think that not this weekend, but the following weekend, that right there is going to be a pivotal moment into the end of the year, and it could go either way. Now, if it goes south, I think the Bears are going to have their opportunity here to finally get some fish, to finally get to eat. And it remains to be seen for how long and how much control they could take. They've been getting slaughtered. And if we enter into some volatility to the downside, well, you know what? Let's just zoom out over here. This pocket looks delicious. And if you get that opportunity to fall into that pocket, a lot of people are going to be probably pretty frightened. But ahead of time, that does indeed look delicious. Again, if this all goes well, no question about it, we could see boom, tick, tick, boom, and then all the 4-year cycle uh, believers will then pivot to, oh, it's 5-year cycle. Raul says it's the refinancing cycle. It's every 5.5 years now. He didn't catch on until the 4-year cycle. Anyway, here we are. Good. I'm glad you're here for sure. Oh no, Don. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Chris. I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're here to stay on the right side. We're here to be forward thinking. We're here to make sure we're able to navigate. That's what I was looking for. But above all, we're looking to bring clarity for sure. There's a lot of sensational stuff going out there. There's a lot of thoughts, a lot of people flip flopping to whatever is the popular idea of the day. That's not Fed now is it was what I was looking for. I wasn't really sure when I was talking about, that indeed CBDC has been in place more or less for a long time. And then of course you have the layer of Swift and everything like that. Could tomorrow's CPI bring any type of is it a factor? It's funny that the government that is shut down is not releasing any more data to the Federal Reserve as far as jobs. I mean, Powell says that the Fed has plenty of their own data and models, and I would imagine so, man. Their budget is absolutely ridiculous. Look at their renovations, right? Billions of dollars, right? The amount of data they're collecting privately is probably better than the government data because there's really nothing good about government. And you know, uh, does that give them anyway? They're so bad though, aren't they? Or are they? Do they engineer with perfection? The Fed is being neutered before our eyes though, and that's because we're in an era of fiscal dominance. All that matters is servicing those deficits. You've seen it as the Fed went like ridiculously tight rate shock into 2022, and the markets ever since Powell said there will be pain have been up and to the right into a mega bull because the Fed could only do so much. So how much does their loosening of rates, 25 basis points, 50 basis points, do? Well, I don't think that's what they're getting set up to do. They started a little bit earlier than anticipated. I mean, Jamie Dimon told us that they're going to 6.5. Here we are. Jamie Dimon said recession for the last 3 years. Anyway, point being is that the CPI, it's funny it's being released. It is being released. It's probably bad that because it's being released, just going off of that. You could see that true inflation's been ticking up and rising. It's towards, what is like a 5-month high. And I imagine oil's been on the uptick over here. Um, yeah, it could come in a little hot. Is that going to change the Fed's cut for October? I don't think so whatsoever. Is it going to change the expectations of another cut into December? I don't. Unlikely. The Fed is almost backed into a corner over here, and what they're doing is they're moving towards easing. Why inflation's at 3%, but the job market, anyway, it's a mess. It's a big mess. It's a big mess. Like silent depression is more apparent than ever. And this like here's the thing. Are they going to stop spending? No. Are they going to continue layoffs? Yes. We saw Meta is even laying off hundreds now of their AI engineers after taking on some extreme talent, paying them some extreme salaries and bonuses. They could get rid of all of this. And that's going to continue everywhere throughout tech. And Matt, the like the separation between what is the economy, what is the markets, what's reality, it's going to continue. It's going to continue to grow. Is eventually there's a reckoning? Who's going to buy? Amazon's talking about doubling their amount of shipments in the next 5 years, laying off over 600,000 workers, replacing it with robots to save 30 cents on a shipment. I think that's what they said. But listen, who's going to buy their stuff? Who's going to buy their stuff if they keep getting rid of the middle class? Well, I mean, you got to own assets. You got to do whatever you could do to own assets. Anyway, dollar over here. The bulls, the retail today, absolutely relentless and or massive. Market is still, let's say, just one headline away from reacting. What's that next? Well, I've noticed something interesting. I've noticed that we're seeing. Thank you for the love, everyone. By the way, for smashing that like button to be here with CTM to support CTM. Listen, let me just go ahead to some headlines. I'm going to tell you something that I'm noticing, and this seems to be planned. It's a strategy that's taking place, and I don't see anything red. There we go. So right there, the silence from Moscow. Russia, Trump decides that, you know what, I'm going to place more sanctions on the top two biggest oil companies in Russia, and they need to stop this war. And see, like, we're sanctioning your oil companies, and Russia doesn't say anything. They don't even respond. China, Russia, and the U.S. they've been going through this whole tit for tat. And Trump now has gone from two verbal escalations into and China, after saying we're not stopping rare earth materials, we just want we want applications to be filed, and if the use is not for creating bombs that are pointed towards us and or our allies, then likely they're going to be approved. And since then, they haven't said anything. And Trump continues that verbal escalation. And it's almost like in the past, it was like that the big bad bully has something to say, and you gotta like answer. And now the response is silence. Like, we don't even need to say anything to you. That seems to be a major change in tactic, and I'm curious. I don't think that's a good sign for the U.S. I personally don't think so. So, well, the stocks just made a massive correction. We just saw a massive correction on the equity markets, right? We saw over here, this was a 30% correction on the NASDAQ. And that doesn't happen too often. That doesn't happen too often at all. It seems that they've been happening more frequently, right? You had the tightening cycle over here, two back to back. And then, of course, we all lived through the massive global lockdowns. So they sharper, quicker, more violent cycles. We've been saying that since 2020. And in the past 5 years, we've had two 30% corrections. That's also not normal, right? If you go back, or if someone asks any LLM in the past 100 years, how many 30% corrections have there been, and what's the duration between them? And then we had also, the scare in 2018, and that was a 24% correction. And then you got to go back all the way into the great financial crisis for a big one. And yeah, I mean, well, it's true. And what I'm noticing today, even as we're seeing risk really bouncing here. And I to be honest, I really prefer seeing Bitcoin trading above 110,000 than below it, you know? And it's like the volatility has really expanded in the last couple of days. And you can see it over here. Look at this tight range, and then even before, tight range, and now you're seeing bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom. The volatility is picking up, and that's why I have the tick, boom into the thumbnail over here, because usually volatility begets volatility, and we don't know, and I don't know whether or not we're going to see, you know, um, a great shoot up over here. Bitcoin able to rise to new all-time highs and really like put in a nice leg up, something that's going to make everyone really, feel like that we're roaring in the bliss, and it's a honeymoon type day. But it could go the other way as well, or we could just return to that muddle along and grind up. And actually, that's probably what happens for the over. Now, I do think that Bitcoin will have its time soon, and likely into November and December, and considering all things go well. But as far as equity markets into 2000 direction, yeah, it's hard to see outside of, a fundamental shift in what is the AI wars changing, and a lot's going to change in the next year. The pace of the pace of development is absolutely mind bending. It's almost impossible to keep up with if you follow people who are keeping up with it. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, are we lacking certain like energy? Yeah. US is talking about putting, by the next 5 years, potentially 10 nuclear power plants online. Seems late to me. It seems late when you're in this midst of this massive race for who is going to dominate the future with the best technology. And China's got the energy. Again, that's something else that's not stacking up well. So are we going to see another big crash into 2020? A lot of people calling for that, for the recession in 2026. Again, we're like there's a portion of the U.S. That is already going through not only a recession but a depression. We're going to continue to see probably the pace of jobs, which have been declining since 2022. We just had fake data continuing, but does that change the direction that things are going? I don't think so. Again, the narrative is going to become reacceleration. I, I don't know, like that doesn't seem to be the popular opinion by any means whatsoever. That's strongly in the camp I am. I want to get past this pivotal events that I'm talking about, and that is over the next couple of weeks. We'll see if we could do it, and if we walk away from there, then I'm going to turn, bullish into this end of the year, and I would love to see Bitcoin able to put in some nice gains in doing that. Um, I mean, the bounce is nice. I felt like yesterday this is really coming into question. I think this really was a depressing moment for a lot of people to see. Finally, a nice breakout attempt, and then to get smashed down over here. We're just not out of the woods. The bears are lurking because this is a very cautious period. We have over here, the flows of funds historically this next week and into that pivotal event are also cautious. this year has been a year where we've seen just the muddle slow grind up and defying all seasonalities, right? And it just continues, right? Um, so yeah, that's where we're at coming into it. Tomorrow on Fun Friday, I'm gonna be presenting on I'll do it now. Let's take a look at this together now. I think that's everything that we wanted to get out of the way. So far, growth continues and is accelerating. Right now, let's see if from last week, or it's the last one we have over here, 3.9%. VIX continues here to rise with risk going up. I said it's been a tough year, so let's talk a little bit about that and what that means. And we have over here Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and Solana, and then we'll move over to our stocks over here. And obviously we're in a bull market. If you're trading BTC 101 for the last year, you're up 11%, right? Which is just really, really nothing on Bitcoin. And I think it was bought out yesterday. I saw Juan being like, it looks like most of the time here that the P&L is just going sideways. And we tried for so long to make that really like that's almost CTM 101, right? Most of the time, the majority of the time, you are spent running sideways. Now, what period are we starting at over here? From 2020 till today, buy and hold on Bitcoin. Hold on, y'all. Buy and hold on Bitcoin, 1400. Trading BTC 107, really outperforming. What happens if you move that down and you go to just add another year? Buy and hold on Bitcoin, 2800. I mean, that was just 2019. And if you go back one more year, and that's this is the thing. Even on pick your asset. I don't care if you're talking Bitcoin. I don't care if you're talking any of the altcoins. I don't care if you're talking stocks. For example, you have TQQQ for the last 5 years, like our worst performer, 700%, 770%, and then it adds a 15% gain. And all of a sudden, that 770 is now 1,000% because of the compounding. So you can't replace time. A lot of people are in a rush, and there's nothing you could do, right? 2018 till today, and I mean at that point it just becomes a ridiculous outperformance. But how many people want to go through the next 7 years? I try to tell everyone in the beginning. A lot of people really, really overestimate what they could accomplish in 2 years and drastically underestimate what they could accomplish in 10. Bitcoin, it's on 107, right? If you're trading 107, most people trade 101 or Bitcoin bull runs. If you're trading 107, it's 5% over the last year, right? Ethereum has been, you never know which one is going to outperform and when. And in this case, Ethereum is really been the outperformer, which was the underperformer coming into that. But you could see at different times, different assets will make their runs. And thankfully, Ethereum has been on fire. And Cardano, I mean, I'm just going back 1 year. This looks horrible if you take out the last pump on Cardano. Then Cardano is down drastically. And even still, with it down drastically, Ethereum does cover that, right? And then Solana is in drawdown as well. But even going nowhere, you add them all up. Capital preservation is the number one goal. And in this case, which I don't like, because if you just change this by 2 months, it's a lot different of a performance. But I was just going back a year. Even if Solana was taking a 40% hit here, you're still seeing obviously green. And then obviously we've spending the last 2 years working on upgrading here, skipping V3 now because it moving to V4 finally for the next release, and it's not much different. I mean, Bitcoin's performance is a little bit better, but again, you take away the last run after Trump was president, and Bitcoin here on V4 since like 2025, it's only treading water. It's only up like 10-11% as Bitcoin is, we looked at it's 110 today. It was 101 January 1st. Ethereum has had a better year. This one, am I doing? Yeah, what a month, like that 1 month when Trump was elected and alts wrote. But I'm just going back a year from today. And then this is the main one here is that the improvement is absolutely substantial on all of these. Um, but Cardano able to withstand the fury of Trump's tweeting in April is a big deal. It's a massive deal. And then Solana here. This is, you know, you're not standing still for sure. Preserving capital is utmost importance. Not having like getting it done gains of altogether 70%, which is the bar, but also that's cumulative. That's an average over years because there are many years that well surpass that. But the purpose of what we do together here is also that building and putting us in a position for having the better, even better refinement of our tools for the future. And that is taking place as we grind it out every day. It is really, really, really a lot of people talking about CZ getting pardoned. I don't, you know, um, it was the previous administrations who brought the charges against Binance. Is this more along the lines of like I'm in power now, so I'm doing that? Listen, I I don't think it affects CZ one way or the other. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't think CZ had any plans. Like he was charged, he served his time, he was released. Does this give the opportunity now for CZ to come back into power as far as to run Binance? If he ever stop, yes, it does. That's something that could change. He's probably happy about that. But I mean, multi-billionaire who either way was coasting and going. I don't know. I don't know whether or not CZ being pardoned or if he wasn't is it's the chatter of the day, but I don't think that has any. I don't know. Maybe you all are onto something that I'm not. I have blinders on. We need to focus on what it is we do. I don't know how CZ plays a role in that. Ultimately, and I put out a tweet this morning, the way I look at it is like you saw them all meeting in DC yesterday and their intent on building the rails for the rise of stablecoins because that is what is going to service the debt. That's what's going to put the bid into treasuries. And as this infrastructure is being built, this genius plan, I think it's genius, as it's being planned, the final ingredient, in my view, is going to be they're going to need to send Bitcoin because in order to really get this, there's a positive correlation between the growth of Bitcoin and stablecoins. And if you want to grow that bid for treasuries by growing the stablecoin market, they're going to have to send Bitcoin. But I don't think they want to send Bitcoin until they have everything in place. And you could see that that process is really being done. The relentless bid here of the Nasdaq today of risk of seeing Bitcoin rise it's something else. There's no question about that. Gold and silver even bid today. It's almost as if it's returned to the only thing that matters, and that is, but I look again, I know it's a lot of the same, and it's going to be that way until we get through next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is of utmost importance. Is tomorrow's CPI print a big deal? I don't think so. I think the Fed is cutting regardless in October, right? I think that the Fed it's only 25 basis points are likely cutting in. Otherwise, what's Powell going to say? You know, he has dual mandates and he's got to meet them both. And he's not doing a good job on either. All right, everyone. CTM strong. You got to be strong. You got to be strong because time is going to pass. And I want to see you on the right side and thriving. Tomorrow, Fun Friday. We're back at it. Have a beautiful day, everyone. God bless you. I'll see you all back on the inside.